Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And Xbox Game Pass continues to grow with more high-quality titles. Over the last 24 hours, they did add 2 top-tier games that you absolutely should not miss. Not only that though, but they did confirm another Game Pass game that's a little further out, but this is a game that's been on my radar for quite a long time, so we'll talk about that one as well. Per usual though, you Game Pass subscribers out there have a lot to look forward to, though unfortunately, we're going to have to go over another chip shortage update today as it continues to not look so good for these modern consoles. So unfortunately, we will go over that one as well. With that said though, let's just go and dive right into the news, starting off with Nintendo Switch Online as they're adding one of my favorite games from when I was a kid, and that is none other than Pokemon Snap. I absolutely loved this game as a kid, and I mean, I do understand that if you're looking from the outside in, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense on why this game is so beloved from just so many gamers out there. I mean, you just kind of take pictures of Pokemon and what's fun about that, right? But then when you actually play it yourself, it just somehow captivates you. It's really just so much more fun than its description. It's got a ton of secrets with Pokemon behaving in different ways based on how you interact with them as well as the environment. There's a ton of replayability in this game, and it's also a lot of fun just challenging your family or friends on who can get the highest scores on each picture. It's genuinely a wholesome and fun game for the entire family. I definitely would highly recommend Pokemon Snap, which will release in the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack on June 24th. So do make sure to check it out if you're subscribed. For that matter, Switch Online Plus expansion pack is actually quickly becoming a much more enticing subscription with games like this being added. Of course though, also keep in mind that new Pokemon Snap, that actually released last year, which is also a great game. So if you played that and you do like new Pokemon Snap, it's nice to see where it all began on the Nintendo 64. Moving on though, we've gotten a lot of just absolutely massive announcements this month as expected. June certainly hasn't let us down, or at least me. I'm certainly not let down at all, as I am extremely excited for various games including Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, I saw some of you all in the comments after that Capcom showcase and just how disappointed you all were that Dragon's Dogma 2 was not confirmed at that event. But, as I said, stay strong, Arisen, because it's coming and it might be announced at that Dragon's Dogma 10th anniversary event. And as we talked about yesterday, it absolutely was. I was fairly confident that this game did indeed exist, but now it's 100% confirmed. So you just gotta love to see it, though that right there's the thing. Now, we just kind of want to see actual gameplay. Unfortunately, as of this moment, all we've gotten is a logo so far, but we did get a really interesting detail after that showcase that I think is incredibly exciting. And that is that Dragon's Dogma 2 is using their in-house RE engine. Now, this is what Capcom uses on their Resident Evil games, but they've also been using the RE engine on some of their other games as well, including Street Fighter 6, and here with Dragon's Dogma 2. And really, based on the results that we've seen so far, their games, they do look superb, so I think that this is a really good sign. Now, obviously, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a huge open-world type of game, and we'll see how that translates, but I think that we're going to see a real looker here with high graphical fidelity when they do eventually reveal its gameplay. I really do believe that Dragon's Dogma 2 has a ton of potential, and I actually trust Capcom more now than what I did back when the original released. The first game might have been overlooked, but I think once we get the full reveal of its sequel, this is going to be a game that's really hard for people to ignore. Let's go and talk about some free games though, because, I mean, who doesn't like free games, right? Now, I guess technically these aren't really free per se because they do require an Amazon Prime subscription, but if you are indeed subscribed to Amazon Prime, as many people are, I mean, a lot of people, they just want that free Prime shipping, and then you just kind of get all these extra perks like this as an example. But yes, they do have a pretty nice deal going on next month for Amazon Prime Day. Of course, they'll have a lot of different discounts that they'll reveal at a later date, but the reason that we're talking about them today is because they're giving away 30 plus games to Amazon Prime members from July 12th to July 13th. And this actually includes some pretty good games such as Grid Legends. There's Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is, I mean, that's legitimately one of the best trilogies to ever exist. There's also Need for Speed Heat. There's a couple of Star Wars games here, Death Squared, which is a good puzzle game, among several others. Now, they do note in their statement that leading up to Prime Day from June 21st through July 13th, Prime members can start freeloading more than 25 indie games instantly. So again, if you're subscribed to Amazon Prime, this is a pretty good deal here and definitely worth keeping an eye on. If you're subscribed, you're definitely going to want to claim some of these games. Speaking of subscriptions though, let's go and talk about the best deal in all of gaming being Xbox Game Pass. This service really has just been so amazing over the years, and a big part of that are their day one releases. And well, over the last 24 hours, they actually added 2 top-tier day one titles back to back. Now, I do expect them to reveal their complete lineup for the second half of June next week. We'll talk about that if they do that. But right now, they did just add 2 more games that I think you all absolutely should not miss. That would be the newly released Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge and then Omori. Now, we'll kind of talk about Shredder's Revenge here in a moment, but first, I want to talk about Omori. This was actually a bit of a surprise release that really, I mean, it just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm actually a little surprised at Xbox that they're not highlighting this game more than what they currently are. And I actually think that that's a real shame, because this is a game that is often described as one of the best RPGs to release in recent years. Omori did release on Steam about a year and a half ago. It's just now coming over to consoles. But to just kind of put into perspective on the type of quality that we're talking about here, Omori has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, with 98% of everybody recommending it. Now, this isn't just coming from a couple of different reviews either. No, this is actually coming from 35,000+ reviews, and it has a 98% recommended rating. That's crazy, and alone, that just kind of shows you the quality that we're talking about here. But if you want to look at critic reviews, okay, you can do that as well, as it has an 87 overall score on Metacritic. So no matter how you slice it, this is a very well-received game from fans and critics alike. What is Omori though? That's obviously going to be a big question here. Well, this is an independent turn-based RPG that kind of plays similar to maybe something like Earthbound as an example. Now, I'm not saying that it's exactly like Earthbound, but I mean, it does share some similarities here, and it's got this beautiful and unique pencil-shaded art style. It's got an emotional, deep, and engaging story centered around depression. So it's actually got a meaningful story to it, and it's also this quirky and just great overall game. Again, I don't know exactly why Omori's not getting more attention with this day one release from Xbox, but if you like these style of games, I highly recommend it. In fact, I actually have a physical version pre-ordered, and even though that this game is now available on Xbox Game Pass, yes, you can go download it right now, so absolutely go do that. But even then, I'm still keeping that physical version because some games I just have to own for myself, and Omori is one of those games. Now, as for Shredder's Revenge, it did release directly into Game Pass just yesterday, and it's actually one of the highest rated beat-em-up games in recent memory with an 85 overall score on Metacritic. We actually talked about that earlier this week, but it's being described as a phenomenal blast from the past with a beautiful art style, fun gameplay, and also a great cooperative experience as you can actually play together with up to 6 players. Now, that's actually really cool considering that most games top out at 4 players co-op, but Shredder's Revenge, I mean, it takes it to the next level. The way I kind of look at Shredder's Revenge though is that it's just another one of those games that kind of proves that it's a game that's fun regardless of the era that it was built in. Now, obviously for fans like myself who grew up playing the old TMNT games, I mean, yeah, it's nostalgic obviously, but I would still absolutely recommend Shredder's Revenge to anybody, regardless of their age or what era they were born in. Some games are just timeless, and that's definitely the case here with Shredder's Revenge. It's got that old school gameplay to it, but it's just so much fun, and just to kind of put things in short, Shredder's Revenge is nothing short of great. Now, Game Pass wasn't quite finished there, though, because they did confirm another day one release, though this one's a little further out, being Tinykin. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you might actually recognize this game as it has been on my radar for quite a long time. We have covered this game numerous times because it's actually one of my most anticipated upcoming independent games, as it's developed by Splash Team, which is the studio behind Splasher, and they do have some Rayman talent over there. This is actually a very good and overlooked team, and game for that matter. Splasher is a great title if you have somehow missed that one, but nonetheless, Tinykin once again looks good, and it's kind of of like this mix of Pikmin with Paper Mario art style. And then there's also 3D platforming, and really it just looks like a great and overall good game. So it's great to see that this game has now gotten a release date for August 30th. And yes, that does include it coming over to Xbox Game Pass day one. Again, you just absolutely have to love Xbox Game Pass. I mean, just per usual, you Game Pass subscribers out there just always have something to look forward to. Let's go move on over to our last topic of the day, though, and this is just yet another update for the console supply shortages. This really has just been a problem all generation long, as really all of the big three have been impacted by this problem. It's just a very unfortunate situation, and we keep hoping that it's going to improve, but once again, we've gotten reconfirmation that that's not going to be the case anytime soon. Now, this is coming directly from the Xbox's Chief Financial Officer, Tim Stewart, which stated that supply issues are expected to persist through 2022 into 2023. Now, he claims that manufacturers are facing two different issues when it comes to the Xbox Series, and that's limited parts, which apparently favors the Xbox Series S. We'll kind of talk more about that here in just a moment. And then the other problem is elevated logistics pricing pressuring margins. Now, I don't think that this is necessarily overly surprising by this point, as again, we've seen this problem pretty much all generation. Nintendo, you take a look at them, and recently they alluded to the Switch being impacted, and they've had to cut their forecast because, again, this issue here. Obviously, Nintendo, they're still putting up record-breaking numbers, but even then, I mean, they still have had some issues. Then the PlayStation 5, they have been majorly impacted by stock supply. They might have actually been more impacted than anybody else up to this point, just because they completely rely on one next-generation console. And it's got to the point that the PlayStation 4 is now outpacing the PlayStation 5, even though the demand for the PlayStation 5 has still not been met. And you can kind of say the same thing with the Xbox Series X as well. The Series X specifically has been impacted by this, and it's still not met that initial demand either. Now, luckily though, Xbox, they did make that decision to go with two consoles this generation, which has turned out to be a very, very smart decision. And the Xbox Series S is easier to manufacture, as it's once again been confirmed here. So because they made that smart move, the Xbox Series, it's been able to push a little bit more units out than what they would be able to if it was just the Series X. And they've had a lot of success with the Xbox Series this generation, with it breaking Xbox records. Still though, you can't necessarily let that fool you, because even if they're outpacing previous Xbox consoles, they could theoretically be selling more if they had more supply. Again, same thing with the PlayStation 5 and even with the Switch to a lesser degree. Now, Sony, they did recently say that they expect to have a significant increase in PlayStation 5 supply this year, so hopefully that turns out to be true. But these supply problems, they have put a major wrench into these consoles this generation, and it's really kind of crazy when you start to think about it. I mean, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, these are consoles that have been on the market for about, 18 months now, I believe? So with this news here, it's basically going to be 2+ years of this issue by the time it's fixed. That means it's been 2+ years of these consoles selling out because they cannot meet that initial demand. That is crazy when you think about it. Hopefully, though, for you all listening out there, I hope you all did get the platform or platforms that you have been looking for so far. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all on whether or not you've played Dragon's Dogma. And really the results here kind of speaks to what I've been saying all along. It really is just such a criminally overlooked game, as only 31% of you all have played Dragon's Dogma, while 66% of you haven't. So yeah, the vast majority of you all have not played Dragon's Dogma up to this point. Now, it is a bit of an older game now, so I kind of understand why you might not want to play it now. But frankly, I'm thrilled that Capcom has given this game a second chance, because really, it does just have so much potential. And again, I think that when they do eventually reveal Dragon's Dogma in its fullest, as long as the execution is there, which again, I trust Capcom a little bit more now, I think that 66% is going to move over to the good side here, because I think a lot more people will play that sequel. Either way, though, I guess we'll have to just kind of wait and see. But again, at least we got confirmation that a Dragon's Dogma 2 does indeed exist. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.